Hello, I'm Charles Topley, and today I'm doing an audiobook. I'm reading the book called Sideways Stories from Wayside School by Louis Sackle. And if you don't know who she is, she's the same person that did books like Holes, There's a Boy in the Girl's Bathroom, and the Wayside School series, obviously. He or she, don't know what gender the author is one of my favorite authors in general. The book that sparked my interest for his work is There's a Boy in a Girl's Bathroom. I'm doing this again because it's been a year since I've done the first one, the 21 Balloons. So I'm reading this again because since I'm moving and I may not make as much animations, gaming stuff, and so on, I'm gonna spend that time reading and making vlogs. Introduction. This book contains 30 stories about the children and teachers at Wayside School. But before we get into them, there is something you ought to know so that you don't get confused. Wayside School is accidentally built sideways. It was supposed to be only 1 story high with 30 classrooms in a row. Instead, it is 30 stories high with 1 classroom on each story. The builder said he was very sorry. The children at Wayside's like having sideways school. They have an extra large playground. The children and teachers described in this book all go to class on the top floor. So there are 30 stories from the 30th story of Wayside School. It has been said that these stories are strange and silly. That is probably true. However, when I told stories about you to the children at Wayside, they thought you were strange and silly. That is probably also true. Chapter 1. Miss Gorf. Miss Gorf had a long tongue and pointed ears. She was the meanest teacher in Wayside School. She taught the class on the 30th floor. If your children are bad, she warned, or if you answer a problem wrong, I'll wiggle my ears, stick out my tongue, and turn you into apples. Miss Gorf didn't like children, but she loved apples. Joe couldn't add. He couldn't even count, but he knew that if he answered a problem wrong, he would be turned into an apple, so he copied from John. He didn't like to cheat, but Miss Gorf had never taught him how to add. One day, Miss Gorf caught Joe copying John's paper. She wiggled her ears, first her right one, then her left, stuck out her tongue, and turned Joe into an apple. Then she turned John into an apple for letting Joe cheat. "Hey, that isn't fair," said Todd. "John was only trying to help a friend." Miss Gorf wiggled her ears. First her right one, then her left, stuck out her tongue, and turned Todd into an apple. "Does anybody else have an opinion?" she asked. Nobody said a word. Miss Gorf laughed and placed the 3 apples on her desk. Stephen started to cry. He couldn't help it. He was scared. "I do not allow crying in the classroom," Miss Gorf said. She wiggled her ears, first her right one, then her left, stuck out her tongue, and turned Stephen into an apple. For the rest of the day, the children were absolutely quiet, and when they went home, they were too scared even to talk to their parents. But Joe, John, Todd, and Stephen couldn't go home. Miss Gorf just left them on their desk. They were able to talk to each other, but they didn't have much to say. Their parents were very worried. They didn't know where their children were. Nobody seemed to know. The next day, Kathy was late for school. As soon as she walked in, Miss Gorf turned her into an apple. Paul sneezed during class. He was turned into an apple. Nancy said, "God bless you." When Paul sneezed, Miss Gorf wiggled her ears, first her right one, then her left, stuck out her tongue, and turned Nancy into an apple. Terence fell out of his chair. He was turned to an apple. Mauricia tried to run away. She was halfway to the door as Miss Gorf's right ear began to wiggle. When she reached the door, Miss Gorf's left ear wiggled. Marisa opened the door and had one foot outside. When Miss Gorf stuck out her tongue, Mauricia became an apple. Miss Gorf picked up the apple from the floor and put it on her desk with the others. Then a funny thing happened. Miss Gorf turned around and fell over a piece of chalk. The three Erics laughed. Then they were turned into apples. Miss Gorf had 12 apples on her desk. Joe, John, Todd, Stephen, Kathy, Paul, Nancy, Terence, Mauricia, and the three Erics, Eric Fry, Eric Bacon, and Eric Ovens. Lewis, the yard teacher, walked into the classroom. He had missed the children at recess. He had heard that Miss Gorf was a mean teacher, so he came up to investigate. He saw the 12 apples on Miss Gorf's desk. I must be wrong, he thought. She must be a good teacher, if so many students bring her apples. He walked back down to the playground. The next day, 12 more children were turned to apples. Lewis, the yard teacher, came back into the room. He saw 24 apples on Miss Gorf's desk. There were only 3 children left in the class. She must be the best teacher in the world, he thought. By the end of the week, all of the children were apples. Miss Gorf was very happy. Now I can go home, she said. I don't have to teach anymore. I wouldn't have to walk up 30 flights of stairs ever again. You're not going anywhere, shouted Todd. He jumped off the desk and bopped Miss Gorf in the nose. The rest of the apples followed. Miss Gorf fell on the floor. The apples jumped all over her. Stop, she shouted, or I'll turn you into applesauce. But apples didn't stop, and Miss Gorf could do nothing about it. Turn us back into children, Todd demanded. Miss Gorf had no choice. She stuck out her tongue, wiggled her ears, this time her left one first, then her right, and turned the apples back into children. All right, said Mauricia. Let's go get Lewis. He'll know what to do. No, screamed Miss Gorf. I'll turn you back into apples. She wiggled her ears, first her right one, then her left, and stuck out her tongue, but Jenny held up a mirror, and Miss Gorf turned herself into an apple. The children didn't know what to do. They didn't have a teacher. Even though Miss Gorf was mean, they didn't think it was right to leave her as an apple. But none of them knew how to wiggle their ears. Lewis, the yard teacher, walked in. Where's Miss Gorf? He said. Nobody said a word. Boy, am I hungry, said Lewis. I don't think Miss Gorf would mind if I ate this apple. After all, she always has so many. He picked up the apple, which was really Miss Gorf, shined it up on his shirt, and ate it. Chapter 2. Miss Jewls. Miss Jewls had a terribly nice face. She stood at the bottom of Wayside School and looked up. She was supposed to teach class on the 30th floor. The children on the 30th floor were scared. They had never told anybody what had happened to Miss Gorf. They hadn't had a teacher for 3 days. They were afraid of what their new teacher would be like. They had heard she'd be a terribly nice teacher. They had never had a nice teacher. They were terribly afraid of nice teachers. Miss Jewls walked up the winding, creaking staircase to the 30th story. She was also afraid. She was afraid of the children. She had heard that they would be horribly cute children. She had never taught cute children. She was horribly afraid of cute children. She opened the door to the classroom. She was terribly nice. The children could tell just by looking at her. Miss Jewls looked at the children. They were horribly cute. In fact, they were much too cute to be children. "I don't believe it," said Miss Jewls. "It's a room full of monkeys." The children looked at each other. They didn't see monkeys. "This ridiculous," said Miss Jewls. "Just ridiculous. I walked all the way up 30 flights of stairs for nothing but a class of monkeys. What do they think I am? I'm a teacher, not a zookeeper." The children looked at her. They didn't know what to say. Todd scratched his head. "Oh, I'm sorry," said Miss Jewls. "Please don't get me wrong. I have nothing against monkeys. It is just that I was expecting children. I like monkeys. I really do. Why, I'm sure we can play all kinds of monkey games." "What are you talking about?" asked Todd. Miss Jewls nearly fell off her chair. "Well, what do you know? A talking monkey. Tomorrow I'll bring you a banana." "My name is Todd," said Todd. The children were flabbergasted. They all raised their heads. "I'm sorry," said Miss Jewls, "but I don't have enough bananas for all of you. I didn't expect this. Next week, I'll bring in a whole bushel." "I don't want a banana," said Calvin. "I'm not a monkey. Would you like a peanut?" asked Miss Jewls. "I think I might have a bag of peanuts in my purse. Wait a second. Yes, here it is." "Thanks," said Calvin. Calvin liked peanuts. Allison stood up. "I'm not a monkey," she said. "I'm a girl. My name is Allison. And so is everyone else." Miss Jewls was shocked. "Do you mean to tell me that every monkey in here is named Allison?" "No," said Jenny. "She means we're all children." "My name is Jenny." "No," said Miss Jewls. "You are too cute to be children." Jason raised his head. "Yes," said Miss Jewls. "The chimpanzee in the red shirt." "My name is Jason," said Jason. "I'm not a chimpanzee." "You're too small to be a gorilla," said Miss Jewls. "I'm a boy," said Jason. "You're not a monkey?" asked Miss Jewls. "No," said Jason. "And the rest of the class, they're not monkeys either?" asked Miss Jewls. "No," said Allison. "That is what we've been trying to tell you." "Are you sure?" asked Miss Jewls. "We'd know if we're monkeys, wouldn't we?" asked Calvin. "I don't know," said Miss Jewls. "Do monkeys know that they are monkeys?" "I don't know," said Allison. "I'm not a monkey." "No, I suppose you're not," said Miss Jewls. "Okay, in that case, we have a lot of work to do. Reading, writing, subtraction, addition, spelling. Everybody took out a piece of paper. We will have a test now." Jason tapped Todd on the shoulder. He said, "Do you want to know something? I liked it better when she thought we were monkeys." "I know," said Todd. I guess now it means she won't bring me a banana. There will be no talking in class, said Mrs. Jewls. She wrote Todd's name on the blackboard under the word discipline. Chapter 3. Joe. Joe had curly hair, but he didn't know how much hair he had. He couldn't count that high. In fact, he couldn't count it all. When all of the other children went to recess, Miss Jewls told Joe to wait inside. Joe, she said, how much hair do you have? Joe shrugged his shoulders. A lot, he answered. But how much, Joe? Asked Miss Jewls. Enough to cover my head, Joe answered. Joe, you're going to have to learn how to count, said Miss Jewls. But Miss Jewls, I already know how to count, said Joe. Let me go to recess. First count to 10, said Mrs. Jewls. Joe counted to 10. 6, 8, 12, 1, 5, 2, 7, 11, 3, 10. No, Joe, that is wrong, said Mrs. Jewls. No, it isn't, said Joe. I counted until I got to 10. But you were wrong, said Mrs. Jewls. I'll prove it to you. She puts 5 pencils on his desk. How many pencils do we have here, Joe? Joe counted the pencils. 4, 6, 1, 9, 5. There are 5 pencils. Miss Jewls, that's wrong, said Miss Jewls. How many pencils are there? Joe asked. 5, said Mrs. Jewls. That's what I said, said Joe. May I go to recess now? No, said Miss Jewls. You got the right answer, but you counted the wrong way. You were just lucky. She set 8 potatoes on his desk. How many potatoes, Joe? Joe counted the potatoes. 7, 5, 3, 1, 4, 6, 8. There are 8 potatoes, Mrs. Jewls. No, there are 8, said Miss Jewls. But that's what I said, said Joe. May I go to recess now? No. You got the right answer, but you counted the wrong way. Again. She put 3 books on his desk. Count the books, Joe. Joe, count the books. 1,000, 1,000,000, 3. 3, Miss Jewls. Correct, said Miss Jewls. May I go to recess now? Joe asked. No, said Miss Jewls. May I have a potato? Asked Joe. No, listen to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, said Miss Jewls. Now you say it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, said Joe. Very good, said Miss Jewls. She put 6 erasers on his desk. Now count the erasers, Joe, just the way I showed you. Joe counted the erasers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10, Miss Jewls. No, said Miss Jewls. Didn't I count right? Asked Joe. Yes, you counted right, but you got the wrong answer, said Miss Jewls. This doesn't make any sense, said Joe. When I count the wrong way, I get the answer right. And when I count right, I get the wrong answer. Miss Jewls hit her head against the wall 5 times. How many times did I hit my head against the wall? She asked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You will hit your head against the wall 5 times, said Joe. No, said Miss Jewls. 4, 6, 1, 9, 5. You hit your head 5 times, said Joe. Miss Jewls shook her head no and said, yes, that's right. The bell rang, and all the other children came back from recess. The fresh air had made them very excited, and they were laughing and shouting. Oh, darn, said Joe. Now I miss recess. Hey, Joe, where were you? Asked John. You missed a great game of kickball. I kicked a home run, said Todd. What was wrong with you, Joe? Asked Joy. Nothing, said Joe. Miss Jewls was just trying to teach me how to count. Joy laughed. You mean you don't know how to count? Counting is easy, said Mauricia. Now, said Miss Jewls. What's easy for you may not be easy for Joe, and what's easy for Joe may not be easy for you. Nothing's easy for Joe, said Mauricia. He's stupid. I can beat you up, said Joe. Try it, said Mauricia. That will be enough of that, said Miss Jewls. He wrote Mauricia's name under the blackboard under the word discipline. Joe put his head on his desk between the 8 potatoes and 6 erasers. Don't feel bad, Joe, said Miss Jewls. I just don't get it, said Joe. I'll never learn how to count. Sure you will, Joe. He said, Miss Jewls, one day it will just come to you. You'll wake up one morning and suddenly be able to count. Joe asked, if all I have to do is wake up, what am I going to after school? School just speeds things up, said Miss Jewls. Without school, it might take another 70 years before you wake up and are able to count. But by that time, I may have no hair left on top of my head to count, said Joe. Exactly, said Miss Jewls. That is why you go to school. When Joe woke up the next day, he knew how to count. He had 55,006 hairs on his head. They were all curly.